Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm, part 111 I believe. Last episode we discussed the P versus NP problem, the root and evolution of the universal phase states, did a lot of mathematics, discussed a lot of physical implications. Today we're going to pretty much pick up and do mostly logic. I'm sure there'll be some physics and mathematics in there as well, but really getting back to our axiom sensorality, and just discussing how we are going to make progress, looking for a unique definition to define and solidify what sensorality means. In the same way we use the word special to indicate uniqueness, to indicate differentiation. The only thing that I've done, well, I've already proven an axiom called speciality, which is literally just special with ity at the end, but it's speciality is the pronunciation. But it's empirically evident by any time someone says the word special. So in doing so, I validated a proofing method of iterating letters, of iterating sounds through words, of all the stuff we've covered. So if you're new to this series, again, this is part 111, so go watch some of the previous things, or continue watching this one. Any of these episodes can be watched independently. Doesn't need to be in order, but I'm just showing you as many logical steps as I can to get to this final definition. But the final definition will be naturally defined. So today we're discussing, and to work towards our definition of sensorality, we're going to analyze natural definitions. And so we'll use an explicit example of this coming up. It's a pretty poignant result. It's pretty interesting and pretty cool. But really just trying to boil down and use any sort of logic we can to get to that final definition. So sensorality, our working definition right now, I don't even know, because again these definitions switch so much. But we'll say sensorality I have here is intentional. We discussed in the previous episode, or one of the previous ones, we proved that lying exists. Not that anyone was waiting for fundamental logical proof of that, but it's true. Language cannot be naturally contradictory. It can't. Paradoxes do not exist. We've proven that. Again, I've demonstrated as well as possible, but it is proven at this point. But lying, you can intentionally use language to be deceptive, but you can't naturally form a contradictory statement without intention. And so we use that. That's just a leftover definition. But right, we're starting to break down. We've gotten to, again, you look at any word and you look into that word and can you find another complete word within that word? And right, we're talking about how the universe builds properties, and now we're talking about the language, the logic of how that building of property is reflected in the words, right? So you have a base word, you had a prefix, you had a suffix, you add two words together and we kept them complete. We showed solid and we showed arity, solidarity, how that produces a unique meaning with two complete words independently that have separate definitions, but just again demonstrating these different facets and aspects of language in ways that are rigorous, that are complete proofs. And so we can look at sensorality, and now we've broken that down into sorality, right? SCN, just chop that off. Now we have sorality. You might be like, well, we've never heard that word, but then again, we've discussed the physical definitions or the physical intuitions of when you get sore, S-O-R-E, that's a form of sorality. It preserves the pronunciation, sorality. If you pull a muscle, you strain it. We went through the physical and logical connections of the actual words to different physical phenomenon. You pull a muscle, you strain a muscle. There's only forces of push and pull. So again, just showing you that A plus B equals C, C plus, again, the law of syllogism, just over and over again with all of these different words. And it's nothing more than that. It is just a lot of that. And so now we can, another glaring reduction we can do is sorality is based on orality. Oral, right? What kind of activities have you guys done orally? but orality, the ability to vocalize. And so, again, we have to solve the base case, orality. That will give us insight to sorality, and we scale that out to sensorality. And that will give us our final definition. Again, remember, you need three words to create a unique definition. We live in three dimensions. You need three words. So again, just working through all of this logic, trying to get to that definition. But what is orality? And so, just again, literally going through the different logical steps of some of them. But when do you say the word sorry, right? Trying to use all of these simple fundamental words, right? Sorry. When you do something inefficient, relating it back to our efficiency axiom. If you do something that's stupid or dumb or idiotic, all of those words really mean inefficient. And so you apologize, you say sorry when you do an inefficient action. It's the fundamental drivers why you do that. But sorry is a general form of sorality, of sensorality. Sorry, S-O-R, S-O-R. And so, again, just pointing out more empirical evidence with a word that people use all of the time. But what is the difference to create the difference between sensorality and speciality? Again, now the concept, because the universe builds, logic builds, the definition of sensorality has to contain the logical concepts and physical reality of speciality, the natural tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism. Most generally, differentiation, specifically differentiation for sexual antagonism, or the tendency to differentiate, and then most generally, or most specifically, for sexual antagonism. You add more words, you add more specificity. And so we can say sensorality desires to differentiate is the operative word we want to integrate into that definition. Speciality differentiates. Good, bad, neutral, it doesn't matter. Some people might go get really big in the gym. Like, I like to be a weightlifter, but I never thought that was going to give me any girls. You go become a big weightlifter, you're going to impress the other gym bros, not the girls. But, you're differentiating, you're just doing something different to make yourself unique. Good, bad, neutral, in between. But the desire to differentiate, again, just adding, comprehensive versus complete, just adding some sort of nuance, some intricacy to the definition. And so that's going to be our current operative word to separate sensorality from speciality. Because it has to be a unique definition, but still contain the logic of what speciality means. And so sensorality desires to reproduce. Speciality differentiates for sexual antagonism. Sensorality is the desire to reproduce. Differentiate and desire are two operative words for our general form of the words or general concepts that we're defining. But sensorality sifts, right? Again, another keeping with the S. What does sensorality do? It relates to filtration. So if you're filtering something, you're sifting something. If you're mining for gold, you're sifting through the dirt to see if you get a gold chunk. We can write if you have a grate, G-R-A-T-E. That is a way to sift. That is a way to censor. That is a way to physically filter something. So now we can take the word grate, and that is the base of integrate. So now that's something, again, just getting the logic closer and closer. Don't know what to make of that now. But a sensor is a grate. A grate is a sensor. Again, we discussed the sorality, sore and strain, or sorality, sore, just sore like my muscles are sore, and soar like I'm flying high. But those are both two complete words with the same syllability, the same preserved pronunciation by the letters that are representative of those words. Sore and strain, but we connected sorality and orality. But just how about the word or? Or separates. This or that, A or B. Now, just to get really nuanced with the dynamic limit and that preservation of pronunciation, pronounce the word so and pronounce the word for. And so the word sore comes from the combination of S-O and F-O-R. It is that combination of that O from so and that O from or that gives you sore, sore, sore. And so that's just, again, an example of connecting two independent words, prepositions in this case, which is that's like the super, super advanced, because it's also super redundant and boring, but prepositions really are. So it's like, who out there is going to be able to differentiate an O in this letter is from this word or this word or this word, because how many words use the word O? But it's just like, for me, the words, they all have different feelings. Like, each word has its own feeling. But it's not like, they all just feel like, so if you said, what does the word brown feel like? It feels like the word brown. What does the word building feel like? It feels like the word building. And so like there's a physical feeling of logic where it's like if you're in a mall trying to walk through a bunch of people, you can feel the resistance. I can literally feel the resistance of words, so I just plug the right ones in. But so I can differentiate the different vowels and consonants, and there's no clear reason as to why. I just know for sure it is. So it makes this stuff a lot easier. But it is a really good example of the dynamic limit.